on guys, the Comics Kid 2099 here. Welcome to day 115 of the 365-day graphic novel review challenge. Today, I want to talk to you about Firebreather by Phil Hester and Andy Kuhn, or Kuhn, I'm sorry. I don't know how to say his last name. This collects the 4-issue miniseries that introduced the character of Duncan, also known as Firebreather, and also the Iron Saint one-shot. And the premise of this book is that Duncan is the child of a human woman and a giant dragon. This dragon is evil and wants to conquer humanity, and somehow the dragon and the woman fell in love, and they had a kid. And then this is the story of this kid whose parents are now divorced, and he splits his time between his normal, loving human mother and the dragon, who feels a certain kind of love for his son Duncan, but is a very non-traditional parent who is trying to train his son to one day become an evil monster kind of like himself. And then Duncan is basically trying to find his place in the world. He doesn't think that anyone likes him. He feels like an outsider, and he's trying to deal with all this stuff. It's basically the story of a child who is dealing with his parents being divorced. It's just amped up to 11 and set in a superhero universe. And that's really clever. That's really interesting. I really love this book. In a lot of ways, it feels like Spider-Man. Spider-Man, I feel like, is kind of the prototype for all of these superhero stories where the character is a superhero, but they've also got a lot of real-world problems. It feels a lot like Spider-Man, except that Spider-Man never had to deal with one of his parents being evil. You could look at this as a companion piece to Invincible, although Invincible handles its subject matter very differently than Firebreather does, and that's not a diss against Invincible, it's not a diss against Firebreather. I'm really glad that we have both of those series. They both handle kind of similar subject matter in very different ways, and both ways are equally valid, I think. I really love the artwork here. Andy Kuhn, or Kuhn, does some amazing artwork. His work reminds me of Tim Sale a lot. Like when I first opened it, I had to double check on the cover to make sure that this wasn't Tim Sale, because it looks a lot like Tim Sale's art, and in places with just a touch of Mike Mignola. And I really love Tim Sale's art, and I really love Mignola's art, and I am really surprised that this guy has not gotten bigger and gotten a lot more screenplay, a lot more airtime, if you will, since this book came out. I'm surprised I haven't seen anything else that he's done, because his art is really good, and with the amount of love that Tim Sale gets and Mike Mignola gets, I'm really surprised that people don't heap a lot of praise on this guy, because this work is just phenomenal. It is some of the best comic book art that I've seen in a really long time. I also really love the stories here. There's not much else to say beyond it's a really clever premise, and it's handled very well. I really like the character of Duncan. He feels very real. At times, I don't like him. At times, he's kind of a jerk. There's one part where he's trying to figure out where he wants to sit at lunch, and he goes up to this one table with some stoners, and he's kind of needlessly mean to these guys. And I'm thinking, you're a little bit of a jerk. But at the same time, you understand where he's coming from, and he feels incredibly real and authentic, and that's not very easy to pull off. A lot of times, people will do a series set in high school, and they make it feel as contrived and cliched as it possibly could. This, at times, skirts that line, but it feels just authentic enough that it's not in danger of just falling into a pool of cliches. I really love this book. It's really fun. It feels really emotional when it needs to be. It's really amazing all around. My only complaint is that we don't have more stuff with this character in this world. There are 2 trade paperbacks featuring this character, and this is the first one. Now, Wikipedia will tell you that there are 3 trade paperbacks, but I have looked on every website known to man. There are only 2 trade paperbacks, and I only have one of them. I wish that I could find that other one, but I haven't been able to find it anywhere in a bookstore. But I would recommend go ahead and check this series out. If you can find it in the back issue bins, go ahead and get those, or if you can find it in trade, like I prefer reading stuff in trade, then go ahead and get those. But this is a really great series. A lot of people will complain that there's not enough new characters being introduced in superhero comics these days, and I wouldn't say this is new, because this series was like 15 years ago, but it's new compared to like Spider-Man or the X-Men. But I would definitely recommend that you check out Firebreather. I think it's definitely worth your time and money. I really wish that we had more stuff with this character, like I already said, and I'm pretty sure part of the reason that we don't have a whole lot of Firebreather, like like we have, over 100 issues of Invincible, is that there was an animated Firebreather movie on Cartoon Network quite some time back, and I imagine that the creators of this series spent a lot of their time giving some creative feedback to that, and that kind of took away some of their time that they could have spent working on this series. But I have no judgment because, as far as I know, all the people working on this, they are still working in comics and they're doing what they love. Like I said a while back, Phil Hester, he wrote Mythic, which was another story that I really liked. So it's not like these guys have just left comics. I just wish that they did more stuff with the character of Firebreather. But that's about all that I have to say about this book and this character. I hope that you guys liked this video, and if you did, be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And I will be back tomorrow with a different kind of video. In the meantime, you guys have a great rest of the day. Catch you later.